You grab the snake and put it in the cage. With a snarl, the cat turns the bird into a quick snack. The cat turns and attacks you, going for the jugular. What? No, it's not. Look at it. It's just asleep in the middle of the floor. Going for the jugular, my ass. The only thing this cat's going on is a trip to Snoozeville. How does this kill you? Did the cat sit on your neck? Ugh. Uninvited. Uninvited is a 1986 point-and-click adventure game made by ICOM Simulations. It's part of what's known as the Mac Venture series, a collection of point-and-click adventure games made for the Apple Macintosh in the mid to late 80s. These games are practically the grandfathers of the genre. In other words, the Mac Venture series walked so stuff like Telltale's The Walking Dead could sprint. Uninvited is pretty much one of the first Escape the Haunted House games ever made, which by now is a pretty well-established setting for horror video games. It got a ton of ports over the years, including a port to the Commodore 64 and a port for MS-DOS computers. Nothing instills true fear in you quite like pink and cyan. The ports included in the 2015 Steam release, which is what I'm playing, are the original Macintosh version and the Apple IIgs version. Since I doubt you want to see all this play out in black and white, most of the footage here comes from the 2GS version. There was also a heavily reimagined port for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1991. That version contains an overhauled interface, a musical score, and is arguably the most recognizable version of this game. It also makes some moderate changes to the plot and gameplay, but I'll only mention those when I feel they're relevant. Anyway, the game starts with you driving on a dark desert highway, the cool wind in your hair, the warm smell of your engine block slamming straight into a tree, rising up through the air. Your older sibling was with you, but when you hit the tree, you were knocked unconscious, and when you came to, they had gone to get help. After you get out, you find that you're in front of an incredibly foreboding mansion on a dark, stormy night, and it's strongly implied your older sibling went right inside to get help. I personally would stay far away from a mansion that might as well have a sign next to it that says, "Here there be dragons," but evidently, common sense is not something that runs in your family. So you head inside the house to look for your older sibling, but it turns out they're nowhere to be seen. So it's up to you to find your older sibling and save them from the perils of this haunted mansion. Essentially, this game is an inventory-based adventure where you try to go to places to find things that let you go to more places, to find more things to let you go to more places, and find more things. You also have to avoid things that can kill you. Oh, sexy girlfriend! Oh god, holy shit! So yeah, you'll need items not only to progress, but also to keep yourself alive. There's a bunch of ways you can interact with these items, most of which you'll hardly ever need to do. Really, the only interactions you'll regularly select are operate and speak. You could use go, but double-clicking typically takes you wherever you want to go already anyway. And sometimes you can't even see an obvious exit on screen, and you have to check the exit map, so it's really just easier to double-click on the exit you want to go to. Using items isn't exactly intuitive either. Usually the stuff you'd think would be useful is actually really situational. For example, there's an axe next to a staircase. Later in the game, you come across a pack of rabid dogs. You'd think you could use the axe to fend them off, but no! Your pansy ass promptly gets mauled for thinking you could take on the rabid dingoes this place apparently has for guard dogs. You know that skeleton lady I showed earlier? There's an item you need to grab to get her out of your way. Do me a favor and look at this closet and tell me what items you think we need to take to make her go away. Turns out that's kind of a trick question, because while you can pick up every item in this closet, the only item that's actually of use to you is the little bottle of No Ghost in here. This game does this all the time, filling up rooms with tons of useless crap to collect without ever telling you what you will and won't need. So a lot of the runtime is just you guessing what will and won't be useful. Oh, and you better make sure to open the No Ghost before using it, or Skeleton Waifu over here will eat your face for dinner. This game pulls crap like this all the time. Remember those dogs I was talking about? You have to use the spell that causes a thunderclap to scare them away. In order to find one of the keys you need to progress, you have to cut open a chair in the living room to find the key in the upholstery. How are you supposed to guess that? I mean, sure, this game isn't as bad as some adventure games back in the day could be, but if you don't have a guide, you'll be wasting a lot of your time just trying to figure out where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. Not only that, in most versions of the game, there's a time limit based on the number of actions you take. Take too long and you'll die. The NES version actually removed the time limit, making it so you can explore the mansion largely at your own leisure, and that's a huge improvement in my eyes. Another improvement is how spells work. Pretty early on in the game, you'll come across a book of spells you'll need to traverse the mansion. In the original versions, you'll need to memorize or write the spells down, and then speak them at whatever you want to interact with. Get even one letter wrong and the spell just won't work. In the NES version, the spells are on a separate menu, and you can select them whenever you want, making this process a whole lot simpler. At this point, you're probably asking why I'm not just playing the NES version. Well, for starts, the original NES version is harder to control because it was designed to be played with an NES controller, and that's just not the same as using a keyboard and a mouse, so it feels a bit clunky. The updated compilation re-release of this game for modern systems fixes this issue by adding proper mouse support. The soundtrack the game has is certainly nice, but I feel it's kind of repetitive, and often a bit too upbeat considering the place you're in and the stakes at hand. But that's more of a personal preference thing. The OG game has no soundtrack, just ambient noises and the famous death sound. Oh yeah, I've gone this long and I haven't even really talked about the best part of this game, the deaths. The biggest crime the NES version commits, in my opinion, is toning down the death scenes. The NES version is on the whole much less graphic both in the imagery it displays and how it describes the numerous ways you can die. Let's compare, shall we? A horrifying apparition in the shape of a classic ghost swoops down upon you like a bird of prey. The strange amorphous creature quickly begins to rip you apart. Its shrieking face is the last thing you'll ever see. Oh, that's a bummer. You step out of the church and immediately have another spiritual experience. A horrifying apparition in the shape of a classic ghost swoops down upon you like a bird of prey. You never had a ghost of a chance. The strange amorphous creature quickly peels the skin from your skull. Soon your system has lost enough blood to cause all of your bodily functions to cease. Oh. Yeah. Even having said that, the death scenes are arguably the best part of this game and the MacVenture series as a whole, because they range from the terrifying, to the unexpected, to you the player just plain fucking up. Pretty much anywhere you go, death is only a few screens away, and it's never not amazing in some capacity or another. It's like those New Zealand safety commercials, where it looks like they're advertising something else, and then out of nowhere they just eat shit and get brutally maimed. There's even one death where you bring the axe down on your own skull and split it open, killing yourself through your own sheer stupidity. Also, judging by your forearms, you're apparently playing as the truck driver from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. There is a lot of stuff to see and do in this game, and most of the game's runtime is just going to be you exploring every nook and cranny of this mansion. I have to say, for an adventure game made in the 80s, this place is delightfully realized. There's a really great sense of foreboding and atmosphere here. My main problem is that it's fairly easy to get lost, and it's also pretty hard to figure out what you're supposed to do, because the game isn't always clear on what is and isn't working. Look at me trying to take these candles. The game won't let me fit them in my inventory unless I drop everything I have. If I didn't have a guide, I'd probably just assume I couldn't carry it, which would promptly lead to old Ghosty McGhostface out there peeling off my skin like a potato. Or take the greenhouse puzzle, where you're supposed to water a plant to get special magical fruit. You water the plant, but nothing happens, so you'll probably be inclined to assume it's just a pointless diversion. But in actuality, you're supposed to examine other stuff in this room over and over to make time pass to make the plant grow. I'm double-clicking on everything over and over, but it's still taking forever. A lot of this stuff is just this game being a product of the 80s, but it does put a damper on the whole experience, not gonna lie. The NES version is, like I said, much more straightforward. Oh yeah, little demon dude! All out, he coming! He's moving! Look at him go! So after wandering the mansion for a really long time looking for your sibling, you come to find out that the mansion's ancient owner sealed the dark wizard Drakon away, and his evil essence is what's causing the restless undead to rise from their graves and wander the estate. Not to be outdone by a timeless evil dark wizard, you thaw the icy sealed and throw him into a bottomless pit before he can completely regain consciousness, spelling his doom. And if you're feeling suicidal, you can also jump in and plummet to your death right behind him. I really do love this game sometimes. After you defeat Drakon, you hear your sibling calling for help, so you rush to the bathroom. You take advantage of the faulty plumbing and flood the bathroom, removing the ceiling fixture so you can climb up into the attic. It turns out that Drakon was being possessed by a demon, and once you killed him, the demon decided to hop ship and find the next best living target, your sibling. In order to save your sibling, you have to use the hit interaction to get the demon to stop inhabiting him, and then shove a cross in its face, causing it to flee in terror. The power of Christ compels you, motherfucker! This is actually pretty much the only time you'll ever have to hit something, so it's super easy to mess up and have the demon decide you're a better host instead. After you hit your sibling, they jump through the window to safety, so once the demon's gone, you can join them. You finally managed to uninvite yourself. Congratulations. As a show of gratitude, your brother gives you a thumbs up, and you're given a piece of paper that you can print out, showing that you've beaten Uninvited. Yay! Well, at least here it's not implied your older brother wants to f*** you. Oh yeah, you remember how I kept calling your older brother your older sibling up until now? That's because in the NES game, she's your older sister, and when you save her at the end of the game, it's kind of vaguely implied she wants to reward you with some, less than wholesome love, shall we say? Sweet home Alabama. So yeah, that's Uninvited. It doesn't hold up that well by today's standards, but it's still a fun little horror adventure that's absolutely worth an hour or two of your time. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me tomorrow for more Halloweek. So I mentioned the axe briefly before, but you're probably wondering what it's for. Since you watched the whole video, I might as well tell you, because it's a doozy. Are you ready? The axe is used to open a cookie jar. That's right. You're such a spineless wimp that you can't even open a cookie jar with your own two hands. To make it even better, you somehow break the axe when you hit the cookie jar with it. What was its handle made out of? Styrofoam? To make that even better, you give the cookie inside the cookie jar to the little demon dude, so he'll give you the key you need to progress. All the demons in this game seem to have incredibly short attention spans. You release a bird and this fat red demon chases after it. You give a blue demon a piece of magic fruit and it gobbles it down and forgets all about you. Even the big demon at the end that needs a body to inhabit just sees a bunch of random teenagers and says, "I guess you guys will do just fine." You'd think demons will be harder to get past, is all I'm saying. Makes me wonder if satanic Adderall exists in this universe.